All right, g'day, hi, and welcome. Okay, this is a part two. Okay, so this is different types of cameras. I just wanted to wrap up. It's just I couldn't squeeze the Nikon into the last video, so forgive me for that. But anyway, as I was talking about this camera, these are good little cameras, but these will just tease you. They really will, because you're going to have a camera that looks really good. It's nice and small. It's about 2/3 of the size of the Nikon. Mind you, that's big for, that's 2003 technology. This is probably 2009, 2010, maybe 2011 when my mom got this. And then the camera she replaced, I told the previous story how her first camera died gloriously on a four-wheeler run. And this was the camera she replaced it with. Now, the problems with these kind of cameras is there's a lot of look here, but the problem is that they're just enough to tease you. So you've got a really awesome setup with the, and you can flip this around and everything like that. That's amazing. That's great. You can use this for videography and everything. And I'm going to test this camera. This camera really, I might as well say, is barely used. Yeah, it's a little dirty because it's, been sitting and dusty and stuff like that. And of course I didn't use it because it was my mom's camera, but that type of thing. But it also has a viewfinder, so you can kind of get what you're getting with that. You can put it in a semi-manual mode, but you don't have complete manual control over the camera. And you cannot change the lenses. And the lens on this is a 20 times zoom, which I don't care about that, but it's a 0.5 by 100 millimeter camera, 2.8 to 5.7. So this is not a bad lens. It's pretty good, to be all honest with you. But you don't have any real control over it. So you're going to have to work with the limitations of setting things up slowly. Although you probably should be able to produce some pretty incredible results with this camera. If you can't, then that's you. I don't think it's the camera. But the biggest thing that's going to hold you back on a camera like this, no proprietary battery, meaning you are stuck with 4 AA batteries. So if you don't have rechargeables, and a lot of them, you're just going to be starting to get into it, and the camera's going to die on you. That's what's going to happen. You're going to do some video. After half an hour at most, battery's dead, and whatever. The Nikon, I charged it up about 2 weeks ago. Now, mind you, I'm not going crazy with it, but you get the idea. On a good day of shooting, I could walk around pretty much all day. There's no video on that camera because it's older technology. But, as a photography kind of purist, I got my 70 to 300 Sigma lens on there. It's a cheaper lens, but it does it. And I got 2 lenses for that. Now, the thing about that camera is that the charge lasts long. And if you're using the viewfinder instead of the screen, the batteries will last longer. Same with this, but this camera, because it's less analog than this camera. This camera, you get best of both worlds. You get full manual control. It's not a super camera, but you can produce some pretty amazing results with even an old 6.1 megapixel camera like this. This is double the megapixels, just about. 12.1, 6.1. So technically this should even take better, clearer pictures than that. But lenses are everything, you know what I mean? The thing about the bigger camera like this, this is what you call prosumer intermediate camera. This is one step before you get into pro. Now that said, everything you can do with a pro camera, you could probably do with this with editing equipment. So you could do layers. The camera that was at the time, I think, was the D2 or the D3 or the D1, which was the grand poobah of cameras. This was the one step just under it at the time. This was a $2,500 camera back in its day. No lenses. Just I got the body for $2,250 on sale. That said, this camera was kind of a breaking ground camera. It will probably become a historic camera in the digital sense, 100 years from now, where they say, yeah, that was the first really good digital analog camera that, was sharp and, was starting to compete with film. Now, film was still at the time, still slightly sharper, but that was pretty close. Now, here's where it gets interesting with this camera. Again, the battery life, the full manual control, or you can go in auto, and the idea that you can change lenses, you can add flashes to it. You can with this. Again, this one, you can almost do what you can with that, but you're always in a kind of a semi-automatic mode. This one shoots video, that one does not, so that's an advantage. This is more useful for people. But the lenses, that's where you win with a DSLR or even an SLR. Is the lenses. So this is more of a photography purist kind of camera. All cameras now shoot video because you couldn't sell a camera like that nowadays without it shooting video. It's a feature that people have to have. It has to do everything. It has to be a multimedia machine, or else they don't want it. You know, that type of thing. This, you could do everything with this. The biggest problem, again, is going to be the battery life. And this I can contest to, because my mom would just start shooting birds with it. She would basically sit here, and you see those bird feeders. I know the window's really dirty. These are old windows. The panes are all fogged up or whatever. But the birds would get there. She'd just start clicking a few shots, and of course, we had the hummingbird feeder right there. And of course, halfway through the shot, battery dead. Camera shut down. I would walk around all day with that thing. Mind you, if you ran the screen all day with it, and used the screen to take pictures, which you can with that, but I don't. I use the viewfinder. I enjoy it more that way anyway. When I use this camera for pictures, I'll probably use the viewfinder 9 times out of 10. But however, one huge advantage to this, especially with the screen that can come out and roll around, when you're doing self portraits, the ultimate selfies, this camera will be great for that. The downside is you're going to have to plan ahead, because if you use the flash, you use the screen, your battery's going to die quickly on you. But other than that, these are great kind of cameras. And I think a lot of these cameras now, again, this is a couple of years old. A lot of these cameras now, people just don't want to get those old batteries. They want proprietary. This had a proprietary battery. This battery, the one nice thing about this camera, well, there was no nice thing about this camera. This camera was so awesome. My 2 favorite cameras in the world, like right there, that everything. Third, yeah, that thing's pretty sweet, I got to tell you. But I got a spare battery for this one, and they're proprietary batteries. Now, a lot of people, yeah, but when those proprietary batteries die, you can't get any more. Well, the good thing about, like, say, Nikon or even Canon, is that a lot of times what they do with these cameras is that when they have a proprietary battery, that battery is going to be around for about a decade, sometimes more. That battery, it's starting to get hard to find, but you can still get it. So what I would suggest, if you find a camera that you like, say it's one of these and it lasts you and it doesn't die on you, get a spare battery for it, and you'll get double the lifespan out of because that's what's going to give away on you is the charging. But that said, how many times did I recharge this camera? I don't know. This one never got the use of that one, but I still use this one quite a bit. That camera, I think the battery was good for something like 1,800 cycles, and I think that was like 1,800 cycles ago for me. This shutter life was for 130,000 photos. I've taken over 1 million photos with this, I know for sure. I've done that. I just did the math on it. It's like I'm probably well over from 2003 to now, easily over 1 million views. Probably with this camera, just click, click, click. I do about 700 shots a day, and I did that for a year straight, for a couple of years straight, actually, where just, 700 shots a day with this camera. It was just a click, 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 click. It's an amazing camera for the time. It lasts, and of course it's well built and everything like that. These ones are a little cheaper built. They're all plastic. That's titanium, magnesium, whatever the body was. It was just state-of-the-art for when it came out, right? But that said, even this one, metal body. Plastic. Some metal. All plastic. Don't know what's underneath, but it's hard plastic. All plastic. Boat anchor. Metal. Again, what are those? Again, that's the most analog camera you get. All you got to do is blink your eyes. and then, like, click, click, remember it, and it's like right to the CPU. And it's about as analog as you can get. That's full manual. I just threw them in there because they were a lying around. But anyway, I just thought I'd show you those cameras. So this is the second part. I do recommend cameras like this, and I got to get permission before I start using this thing because it's not mine. So I'm sure my dad won't mind, but I'm gonna see if I can get some video on that and do that camera. So anyway, there we go. So have yourselves a great day, eh?